Barry McGuire is an American singer-songwriter best known for the hit song "Eve of Destruction," and later as a pioneering singer and songwriter of contemporary Christian music. Early life. McGuire was born in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and moved to California in early childhood. When he was 2 years old, at age 16 he joined the United States Navy, but was discharged 10 months later for being underage. After working as a commercial fisherman, and then going on to become a journeyman pipe fitter, McGuire got a job singing in a bar. In 1961, he released his first single called "The Tree," which was not a hit. He formed a duo with Barry Kane called Barry and Amp Barry. The new duo folk act performed their own brand of original folk arrangements, noticeably impressive melodies laced with rich harmonies, at the Ice House, a small folk club in Pasadena, CA, before moving on to the Troubadour in Hollywood in the spring of 1962. At the Troubadour they both joined the New Christy Minstrels, a large folk group performing there, and McGuire sang lead vocals on the novelty single "Three Wheels on My Wagon." They continued to perform the separate duo act there as well as performing with the New Christy Minstrels, under Horizon Records. They cut the first and only album as Barry and Amp Barry called "Here and Now," which contained songs such as "Gold Wedding Ring," "Land of Odin," the single "Another Man," "Summer's Over," "You Know My Name," "Bull Gene Run," and "Far Side of the Hill." It also included "If I Had a Hammer," released 3 months after the release of the same song by folk trio Peter, Paul and Mary. Their LP, "Here and Now," on vinyl eventually went out of print, but has since been digitally remastered and re-released on CD. In 1963, McGuire along with Randy Sparks co-wrote and sang lead vocal on the Christies' first and biggest hit single, "Green, Green." Quote, "He left the Christies in January 1965 after recording the album Cowboys and Indians. However, on the 1965 album Chim Chim Sherry, he sang only on the title cut. Solo career. As a folk rock solo singer in the 1960s, he was best known for his hits "Eve of Destruction" and "Sins of the Family," both written by P.F. Sloan. The depressing message of "Eve of Destruction" was later answered by another hit song, "Dawn of Correction," by The Spokesman. Barry's other chart successes were "Child of Our Times" and "Cloudy Summer Afternoon." "Eve of Destruction" sold over 1 million copies, and was awarded a gold disc. McGuire's LP, "The Eve of Destruction," reached its peak of number 37 on the Billboard 200 chart during the week ending September 25, 1965. The same week the single of the name went to number 1 on both charts. McGuire was never again to break into the top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100. The song knocked "Help" by the Beatles out of the top spot on the chart. According to McGuire, "Eve of Destruction" was recorded in one take on a Thursday morning, and then he got a call from the record company at 7 o'clock the next Monday morning, telling him to turn on the radio. His song was playing. The recording includes an where McGuire could not read the words. The Temptations reference McGuire's song "Eve of Destruction" in the song "Ball of Confusion." For other references and covers of "Eve of Destruction," see the article "Eve of Destruction." The album "This Precious Time" was released in 1966, his second with Dunhill Records. It includes a version of "California Dreamin'" with the Mamas and Amp the Puppers singing backing vocals. McGuire is mentioned several times in the Mamas and Amp the Puppers hit "Creekway Alley." Frank Zappa wrote McGuire's name in the sleeve of his Freak Out album as one of his musical influences. McGuire appeared in the 1967 movie The President's Analyst with James Coburn as the character Old Wrangler, and in Werewolves on Wheels in 1971. He also starred for a year in the Broadway musical Hair in 1968. Barry also appeared in an episode of Matt Dillon. McGuire became a born-again Christian in 1971 after a brief encounter with evangelist Arthur Blessed in October 1970. In 1973, he joined the Myrrh label and released the album Seeds. This album is also notable for the backing vocals provided by the family trio that would become known as the second chapter of Acts. In 1974, McGuire released his second Jesus music album Lighten Up, which included a remake of Eve of Destruction. He toured with second chapter of Acts and a band called David, and in 1975 this collaborative effort resulted in the double live album, To the Bride. In 1976, he left Myrrh, joining former Myrrh executive Billy Ray Hearn's new label, Sparrow Records. He recorded 7 albums on Sparrow, the best known of which is Cosmic Cowboy, released in 1978. That year he also released a top-selling children's album Bullfrogs and Butterflies for Sparrow's subsidiary label, Birdwing. In 1978 he toured England, Scotland, and Wales with the Jimmy Owens musical, The Witness, in which he played the part of the Apostle Peter, a part he also played on the studio recording of The Witness. Later life. In the 1980s, McGuire left the music industry and settled for a time in New Zealand with his New Zealand wife Mari. He returned to the United States in the 1990s, teaming up with Terry Talbot and recording as Talbot McGuire. The duo released 4 albums between 1996 and 2000. Barry even did a brief stint with the New Mamas and the Papas in 1997–1998. In 1990, McGuire published a novel co-written with Logan White. A paperback, In the Midst of Wolves, told the story about a group of bikers who come to know God. As of 2006, he takes engagements which include a few songs and talks on a mixture of topics by both McGuire and his wife. The McGuires reside in Fresno, California, but also spend part of every year in New Zealand. On March 12, 2008, McGuire appeared on the Australian music comedy game show Spicks and Specks, performing an updated version of Eve of Destruction, with new lines such as, "You're old enough to kill, you just started voting," and "Can't live for 10 years in space." The reference to Red China was also removed. In 2009, McGuire released Eve 2012, where the text had been greatly modified to reflect contemporary problems rather than the problems of the 1960s. In 2008, McGuire teamed up with former member of the Byrds, John York, for a live tour called Trippin' the 60s, which McGuire describes as taking the songs and the truth that was in those songs from the 1960s and bringing them into the present moment. It's not a cover pack, it's us singing songs that we sung with a lot of our friends that aren't around anymore to sing them. Partial discography. Barry Here and Now. The Barry McGuire album. Eve of Destruction. This Precious Time. The World's Last Private Citizen. McGuire and the Doctor. Seeds. Lighten Up. Narnia. Jubilation. To the Bride. Eve of Destruction. Come On Along. Anyone But Jesus. Jubilation 2. Have You Heard? Cosmic Cowboy. Inside Out. Best of Barry McGuire. Finer Than Gold. Pilgrim. Let's End God's Earth. When Dinosaurs Walked the Earth. Ancient Garden. Frost and Fire. Eve of Destruction.